Hello, welcome all. Good afternoon. We'll start the September Avni community meetup today. Uh, the agenda for today will first cover the product and Avni ecosystem updates. Vinay will share that. And then we have NGO Spotlight. We're excited to feature Goonj in that. So we'll move on to the second segment after Vinay complete sharing the updates. So over to you, Vinay. I think if you can get started and let us know what's happening in on the product and ecosystem front.
Sure, glad to do that. Parth, can you give me sharing rights?
You can share your screen. I'll stop.
Thanks. All right. Um, People have been doing multiple things over the past month, and we did share a bunch of updates in the last month, and there were a lot of things that were in progress. This is the status of things as of right now. The items that are marked green are either released or the work is done and the release is going to happen very soon. Items that are in orange are those for which work is going on right now. And items in red are those for which the work is yet to be started. We said from an overall perspective that improving the ease of self-service and improving the data entry application were one of the priorities that we were taking up over this month. And happy to report that at least two items on the ease of self-service have been stricken off. One is the intuitive CSV uploads, and we'll come to it very soon as to what this means. There is also a lot of work that has been done on the automatic dashboard cards. So these are the cards that are available that you see on the home screen whenever you log into Avni. These are two things that for which work has been completed. There has also been a release where we worked on the security of the data entry application. And when I say security, what I mean is the ability of a user to control the ability of an administrator to control what kind of data or which users can be updated by a specific organization. The self-service reports is currently being done through the Code for Government Tech program. There is an intern who is working on it and he's made significant progress. My feeling is over probably another month, this should go live and we should be able to generate quite a lot of automatic insights of your data directly and automatically on Metabase. I'm really very excited at the work that the intern has been doing. He's raised a pull request. We'll probably merge it in a day or two. And there's also work going on right now for improving performance. There was some work that was done last month. We are doing some more work this month to try to make it a lot more easier for people who are on the data entry app to be using it. Over to like a few screenshots. We first talked about the intuitive CSV uploads, and what I mean by that is on the top screen, you'll see this is how a typical sample CSV file would look like. So if you go to that upload screen and if you do a download sample button, download sample, you'd get something like this. And this PHCB, everything is kind of same for everyone, right? Now, what has been done now is that there's an additional row that has been added. If you can see on the new section at the bottom, it says whether something is a mandatory field. If there are specific things, like if it's a mobile number, it gives a specific example of how it looks like. And if there's a preferred language, it tells you what options are possible, what in the right case and everything. So if there are location attributes, for example, it will also give you what the valid values are. So that kind of makes it easier for somebody to actually look at the sample file and say whether something was right or not. We've also worked quite a bit on the error handling mechanism. So a lot of errors are now easier to understand. So that's about the CSV upload, right? So again, so this is an This is another screenshot of the CSV upload where if you see on the left hand side is the old style of things. You always have a download sample on the right hand side. But what we've done here is we've removed this section, and the moment you choose locations, it'll give you a download sample here. This especially works well because if we choose something for a specific say uploading a specific subject type or a specific encounter type, it downloads a CSV file with the right kind of headers. Earlier, this was not really the case, but right now the headers will also be right, and the second line, which tells you what options are available, will also be available on the sample file. So that's something which will get released pretty soon. The other is about the automatic dashboard cards. Now, if you've seen or if you've tried creating a standard report card, on the left hand side, you'll see that a standard report card of type scheduled visits. This is all you could do. So if I want to get like a standard, a list of how many visits were done or are scheduled for, say, the growth monitoring visit type of child program, that was not something that was possible earlier. Right now, a lot more options have been added. So if I say it's a standard report card and of type scheduled visits, I can choose for which subject type, I can choose for which program, I can choose for which encounter type. I can also potentially not use this in certain situations. Like for example, if I take all, there are a lot of these options where many of these parameters are not mandatory, and if it's mandatory or non-mandatory, it will take the right kind of defaults wherever it's necessary. This will also get released pretty soon. And from a self-service perspective, I think this is really useful because someone can actually design a dashboard by themselves without having to write a lot of JavaScript. Today, to build something like this requires somebody to know JavaScript and be able to do it. And that's something that I think is very useful. The third feature that we talked about was catchment-based user access. This has been released, and the people who have actually been using the web application uh, have noticed it for sure. In this feature, what we're doing is earlier we used to think of the data entry application as something that's required only by a data entry person, which means that they will by default have access to every single catchment available in an organization. Whereas we've now found use cases where these need not necessarily be the case, and there could be multiple admins sitting and trying to edit or trying to handle a specific slice of a data, which could either be based on the catchment of the user or based on the synchronization attributes. What we've done now is to be able to restrict a user when they are using the data entry application to be able to just use or to be able to edit just data that is specific to their area. We can assign people areas or catchments, or we can also give them sync attributes, which will let them restrict the amount of data that they can edit on the data entry application. That is currently available. We are also having like a slight modification where for people who don't want to go with this kind of an approach, we are also trying to give them an option to uh, override this at a user level and say, you give them access to the entire data for your organization. That work is currently ongoing and should be released pretty soon. So that's about the product updates. In terms of the ecosystem, there are two specific things that happened over the last month. One was CINI, the Collectives for Integrated Livelihood Initiatives went live. This work was started sometime in February, March timeframe, and we went live last month. This project itself is pretty huge in the sense that it works across 2,000 schools and 500 Anganwadis across Odisha and Jharkhand. And the number of students that are being supported is quite a lot. Even the program itself was a very uh, extensive program where there are people who deal with schools specifically, the school management committees, the parliaments which are sitting inside the schools, but at the same time also work at the block and the district levels and try to improve the quality of the infrastructure of these schools. Excuse me. So this is not just about improving education, but it's also about a holistic approach to education where they talk about kitchen gardens, the student parliaments, library spaces, and quite a lot more. The project itself was not was mostly about collecting data and being able to use that data to make the right kind of decisions by interfacing with the government in the or parents or the community wherever it is necessary. The second one was Jashoda Narottam Public Charitable Trust. The organization runs in southern Gujarat and has been using Avni for quite a long time. They recently went live with the adolescent program. The adolescent program is where there are specific interventions that are being done with class 8, 9, and 10 students to be able to navigate life, to be able to also on the health side around anemia or around menstrual hygiene. So that program has also gone live. That kind of rounds up our ecosystem updates. And over to you, Parth.
Okay, thanks, Vinay. Uh, I think let's transition. Thanks, first of all, for sharing what's been happening on the product and ecosystem front. I think we're making good strides over there, both on the product front and uh, like making the use of them on the projects, the new features, etc. Now let's transition to our NGO Spotlight segment, where we are excited to feature Goonj. Goonj is a pioneering and innovative NGO that uses urban surplus to address basic needs in underserved communities. They focus on disaster relief and rural development, turning discarded materials into resources for positive social change and connecting urban and rural areas across India. Today we have Anita Patil and Shivangi Desai from the Goonj team with us. I'll just give quick introductions about them as well. With over 12 years of experience in the social sector, Anita is dedicated and devoted to building and sustaining grassroots partnerships at Goonj. Currently, she is leading the team that coordinates and manages a network of implementation partner NGOs across the nation. And as a core team member, she is supporting the organization development of Goonj through decision making and approvals at various levels. Through this dedicated journey with Goonj, Anita has adapted herself in various organizational roles and situations, emerging as a professional with a strong understanding of on ground needs of NGOs. Welcome, Anita. I'll give a quick introduction about Shivangi as well. So, with over 20 years of experience in technology, since last 3 years, Shivangi is leading digitization, data analysis, and other tech initiatives at Goonj. Prior to this, she's worked for 10 years in the social sector, building a comprehensive tech and data framework, and 7+ years in telecommunications and technology at various leading MNCs in India and abroad. Shivangi holds a master's degree in computer networking from North Carolina State University and a bachelor's in computer engineering from Mumbai University. Welcome to you as well, Shivangi. Thanks for joining us for this meetup and agreeing to share the insights from your digital transformation journey. She, so yeah, let's start. Maybe I think so. Anita, can we begin with you? If you can throw more light, we all know a bit about what Goonj does, etc. But I think it would be interesting to learn from you what philosophy drives Goonj's work and what all you doing currently.
So, first of all, this year is the Jubilee year or whatever the term is. Like we completed 25 years of Goonj, and what we are trying to do is we're trying to value, the things which are often missed. So, dignity is the core of whatever we do. I think before going on about Goonj, there's a small video which I wanted to play, but if you could help me, I can share the link here. My network is not really good today. So I'm sharing the link over chat. If we can start with that.
Sure. Parth, can you help us with that? Can you share this video, share the screen and play this video?
Normally, whenever we talk about donation, we give what we have. We don't give what people need. And that's the gap we wanted to fill. The idea was to start a movement where the underutilized urban material can be channelized to the people in need, not with charity, but with a lot of dignity. My name is Anshu Gupta, and I run this movement, social enterprise called Goonj. 20 years back, I met this person who used to pick up unclaimed dead bodies. This person's statement that in winters his work goes up. And I thought that it is happening because of cold. Until I realized that it is actually not because of cold but lack of clothing. It's a highly preventable death or suffering. At Goonj, we collect anything and everything which can be reused. Cloth, utensil, footwear, furniture, old wash basin, pipe fittings, fans. When this material comes to our center, it goes through a very rigorous process. It goes through repairing, washing. After that, it is converted into various kits. Not even a single inch of cloth will go waste. Then it goes to the remotest possible part of the country, especially in the villages and in the slums. There is this pond which is completely closed for the last 10 years. Now these hundreds of villagers have taken it up. They will clean it up so that the water recharge happens in the process. Cleaning of this one big pond will take care of the livelihood of people. So they take care of the livestock and the daily needs of people. With their own labor, people work on it. And then after a few days of work, with a lot of respect, they receive these kits. It can be given in a very dignified way. We need to be thankful to every single person who is using our second-hand material, because that person gives respect and second life to something on which we have put in a lot of emotions and have a lot of hard-earned money.
Thank you. And sorry for the last minute, this thing that you need to play the video. Okay, so we can talk about Goonj during our presentation also. So if we can start with the presentation directly, that will save us some time also. Yes, so in the last 25 years, the thing that has been there for us was dignity. You know that everything that we do is dignity central. We whatever implementation point we think of, the projects that we think of, how we want to connect with the communities in urban areas and in rural areas, everything is dignity centric. That is the base thought with which we started, and that is why with the kind of work that we are doing, we are trying to use the urban household material, I would say the wastage of urban India, as a development tool and not as a charity for someone. So it is reaching with utmost dignity to the people in need mostly in rural India and also in some urban areas as well. So it is not going as a charity; it is going as a reward for the work that they are thinking or they are doing. So the model is not just about collecting material and giving it to someone. It is about creating this whole sense of ownership in both the communities. In urban India, where the material is collected, it is all volunteer driven. So people take part in this movement of collecting, the urban wastage and reaching out to people. And in rural India, again, it is a community effort. People come together and work on various issues, and they get to decide. It is not conveyed to them that you have to work on this thing or that thing. People come together, they hold meetings, they decide what they want to work on, when they want to work on, how they want to work on, and after doing that work, they get these material as a reward. So in last 10 years only, we have done 96,000 plus such activities with, mostly the rural communities. And we have now a team of roughly 1,200 people in Goonj. And in last 10 years, we have been, or we have worked in 31 states and union territories and reached roughly about 63 million kgs of urban material, channelized it with utmost dignity to largely to the rural areas. And this we are able to do because we have a network of over 1,000 plus grassroots organizations with us. And on need basis, we partner with them and we try and reach to the remotest geographies possible. Next. How we are doing this is there are certain guiding principles that we hold on to, and these principles guide us to take the right decision. One is that recognizing the value and potential of the local resource and the traditional wisdom of people. So, like I said, we don't decide what what people will be doing. People take that decisions themselves. They decide. So there's a lot of traditional wisdom, the local wisdom, which we need to value and we need to learn from. Then another guiding principle is focusing on receiver's dignity than the donor's pride. So in all our communications, we try and hold on to this value system that the givers should not take the pride that they are giving something. They should actually be thankful that there is someone who is receiving with with utmost dignity to the material which might end up into the landfills. Then we want to focus on the ignored issues more. Like winter is a very ignored annual disaster, or the fire or the annual floods of some states, especially the northeastern states. They are all ignored issues. So we try and focus more on the ignored issues and the ignored geographies. Then another guiding principle is collaboration. So there's a lot of effort that we put into creating different collaborations with uh, urban and rural stakeholders so that it is run as a movement and not only as a kind of organization. And then putting equal value, giving equal value to each stakeholder, whether a villager from a very remote area, or or a student maybe from school who wants to contribute in the urban movement. So we need to give equal value to every stakeholder. So these are our guiding principles with which we are trying to move ahead.
Okay, that's quite inspiring, Anita, and especially the part where like the dignity as compared to charity. That's really inspiring to see how Goonj is doing this work and what is driving force behind this. One question just that came to my mind. Is it just clothes that you do, or there are other like food items, or I don't know if there are other goods also? Just out of curiosity, or is it just it's majorly focused on clothes? I can understand
So-
from the example how clothes are really I mean Anshu highlighted in the video as well why clothes are so important, but just curious to know more.
So it all started with cloths. It all started with some 67 pieces of cloths from the house of our founders. But it eventually, we eventually grew with different kinds of material. And now in a joke, we say that we take everything, right from sui to, elephant, right from the needle to elephant, we take everything. We can utilize anything and everything which can be channelized to someone or can be upcycled. So it is not at all limited to clothing. But till date, I would say our focus area is still a lot on clothing. And it is something with which we experiment a lot than other kind of materials.
Right. And I'm sure that the other items might have their own logistical challenges, because I've visited the center in Delhi, and how well the clothes and everything is segregated and all of that. And the more goods that you have to like take from the person who's giving to till the person who really needs it, it must be really challenging to manage all of that logistically as well, right?
It is difficult because it is all huge amount of material, tons and tons of material that we're dealing every day. So there's a lot of energy and cost that goes into collecting that material, storing that material, processing that material, and channelizing it into the remote parts, especially during disasters. So in some of the geographies, if we have to send material for, say, suppose 400 to 500 families, we end up paying, sometimes over 1 lakh for that material to reach to that geography. So there are huge costs involved into it. But I think what is important is to reach out to the people who actually are ignored, or a lot of people are not able to reach to them.
Right. Right. Now let's dive a bit more into tech. We're all, most of us are techies here. So we are excited to see how tech can play a role and contribute in all what you're doing. So maybe if you can share a bit of your, a bit on your roadmap and what tools that you're using. So that will help us understand how you're moving forward on your digital transformation journey.
Okay, so I'll just share this. Zoom is a little tricky. I had to come to unmute and try to go back to the screen. Anyway, so as Anita said, we have actually Goonj has completed 25 years. So it started in 1999 with just one computer. So that's how tech started in Goonj. And though tech has been a part of the Goonj through its journey, it was a small part and used for data monitoring and collection and everything when Excel came in. Goonj adapted with Excel. When Google Sheets came in, Goonj started using Google Sheets and everything. But as Anita said, and as Anshu said in the videos, the expansion also happened. But then we moved to multiple states because of disasters and everything. So then our scale increased. So with increase in scale, we did have lots of other things that we had to take care of, the processes, the data, quality, and everything. So with that, our digital journey as such started with a little bit more consciousness. So in 2020, the thought of going using a platform, because as you saw from the video and as Anita explained, the whole material management is a big process in Goonj. It is actually the main thing which Goonj does, and it has its whole flow as it goes from the urban, it goes into our processing, and it goes in the rural. So it has almost 3 verticals and the journey that it takes. So to figure out that whole material management journey, Goonj was looking for a platform. At that time, Salesforce was suggested and fitted actually quite well because of its robustness, and it already had some material flows in place and everything. So that's what Goonj started off. And in 2021, we started actually using Salesforce in production after doing some customization to it and everything. That also took some time for our people who are not used to a platform to come on board, start using a digital platform for storing the data and everything. It did take some time, but I think they actually adapted to it quite well comparatively, from people who are not used to using an application or a platform to starting to use a platform and uh, to use it actually quite efficiently. So that was a reason where we also realized that probably there is a scope for getting in more tech as well, and it can be taken up. The people are not that resistant to it, and so we can use tech for leveraging the work and making it easier for the people to do their actual work. In 2021, we also tried in-house dashboards and everything, which we created to see how people are looking at the data and to make them a little more aware that data is where your basics means. Otherwise, you keep on looking at data for a reporting and monitoring point of view. But as soon as dashboards come, you can visualize your data. You realize that you can start using it for planning purposes. You can start using it for seeing where you can do improvements and things like that also. So I think that was also a little bit inspiring for us to see that the people are excited about data. Different teams want to look at the data differently. Our Salesforce journey, as you can see, continues. And it has continuing because we started with one module. And that's what has been general approach with Goonj. We always start phase-wise work, and then we take it up. So again, in 22, we added more modules to Salesforce, which were related to our material management journey. We introduced the purchase module and things like that to make the automation even better and put processes in place. In 2022, we started having this conversation where we realized lots of our field work was still manual, and we were using paper pens to fill up the forms, and it had its own chain of getting into Salesforce. So at that time, we were thinking of digitalization, and that's when I think we got introduced to Avni, and we had, as usual, we normally circulate our proposals and we go through that whole process, and that's how we got through Avni as well. And we started our digitalization work from there. And we finally rolled out in 2023 because through the digitalization process, you all the time, when you introduce a platform, you realize it's working fine and it's working well. But when you try to do certain processes, always come in place and you realize there's always a way of doing them better. So when we tried doing the digitalization 2022 December, we realized that it was not easy for our field staff to enter the data. The data was not intuitive enough for them. So our flows was not intuitive enough for them. So that's why we worked on revamping our processes as well. And we worked with you all in Avni, and we worked with our Salesforce partners as well. And we changed our processes so that it is easier for our field staff to start using it. And we started rolling out Avni application. We started again that in a phase-wise manner. We had first our Maharashtra team, which went on board using Avni application. They were a huge team, but they were really enthusiastic, and the people involved were involved in testing phase as well. So they took it up very well, and they were okay. They knew there would be some changes in the way, but they were okay with it. So that's why we took up first with Maharashtra. Then we progressed with Rajasthan, which was a smaller team to manage. And we realized if we had to face any issues, they would be able to tell us what we are facing and everything. So then Rajasthan came on board. And now actually we are 16 states on our people in 16 states are using Avni, and around 150 of our field staff is using Avni. So that whole journey has come around very well. Then we had Glyphic, which came into picture as well in 2023. We started using it for our urban operations communications bit to make it more uniform. So any communication which goes out from Goonj, we started using it more first as flows for solving people's queries and everything, and then also started using Glyphic's push messages for sending information across to our different urban partners. So that we used in our urban scenarios, since we have the 3 verticals. And now we are actually working on our Salesforce things continues, as now our Avni also journey is continuing. We always have more updates to be made and everything. Similarly, we're doing that on Avni, we're doing that on Salesforce and everything. And we have a new platform, which is in making. We're hoping for release by end of this week, which is the CRM, And we are working right now with Covered Cow for customizing CVCRM, which is an open source platform, which is successfully used across Europe, but it's still not used intensively in India. And it matched with 70% of our requirements. So that's how we are going with it. And then once we start using all these things, I think we'll have to look at our data again. So because now we have multiple platforms, not just one. So the data amalgamation, the data integration. So we'll start looking at that as well. So then we can see our data in the totality and just not as verticals. So that is also an update to be worked on. So this is our digitalization journey. The reasons. So as we saw from the timeline and from what Anshu and Anita explained, Goonj did not rely on technology. Goonj was able to do its work very effectively and very efficiently without technology in place because it has so many processes already set and people were following those processes and were quite good at figuring out their data and noting them down and everything without technology being present. But as one grows, one needs to have those uniform processes in place. Your team is growing across geographies, you're growing across different work which you're doing as well. So that's why the need of uniformity and formalization of processes so that everyone is following the similar thing that came into the place. So digitalization helps us do that because it helps us define the processes which we can put in. Again, with growth, transparency became paramount because the amount of work which was happening in all our urban part, our processing part, our rural part, everything needed to be seen, everything needed to be monitored to see if everything is going fine or not. So in that, now it was not a small team, it was a huge team spread across different regions, spread across different work frames. So then the transparency of data and being able to see what is happening in the field also became important. So that's why also digitalization started playing a big critical role. Ease of work. I think this is the most basic thing why one goes with tech, because lots of times otherwise people do lots of mundane work. They think they have to do it manually and they spend lots of time, lots of human hours and going those work, while actually through tech, one can make it much simpler. One can employ, write scripts, one can use what is already available and employ that to make the processes simpler, to make your data collection simpler and everything. Like even the small things as writing your state, district, block, if you just have drop downs, you have to just select that. So that's also where the tech comes in and makes it simpler for the people who are doing the work to start doing it more easily as well. Duplication of efforts. So I think that's the reason why Avni came into place as well, because people were writing it on paper and everything, then it was going through another process, people were translating into digitization. So that's the reason why. And probably if it's not digitized, then different people are doing that same effort in their own way. But there is no common way of doing it. So that's why when there's a platform, that's why there are scripts written or there is a tool to do it, then everyone can use it without duplicating that whole effort on a human level. Ease of data analysis also, as we said, the data grows. As you grow, your data grows along with you, probably a bit more than you wanted to, because then you have a huge data which you need to process and you need to monitor. So with any of the analysis tools and with reports, like in Salesforce also we get reports, with Avni also we can see reports. So with all these, and the report generation and extraction becomes simpler. So your data becomes easier for you to access. You do not have to go through a turmoil or a big process to get your data, which is, I think, very important for everyone, especially in NGO, which is constantly revamping their work basis of results that they're seeing in the field. And all the above happens because you scale. Because you're scaling, you are growing, not just geographically, but in going into different avenues for work. So that's why all these above ones are important, to make sure that the work that you're doing, it's happening effectively and meaningfully. And it's just not happening because it has to happen. There are impacts and outcomes of your work. So that's what I think tech and digitalization helps us in the NGOs especially. So why we went with field digitalization, I think. Anita, do you want to talk on that?
So most of it we already kind of covered. Like the need was due to duplication of efforts that we were putting in, uh, in maintaining the records in different geographies on papers, and then bringing it to the state office, and then from there to put it into a system, and then for cross checking it used to come to Delhi, which is the head office. So the timeline was something which was taking a lot of which was showing a lot of gaps. So if some work was done in a remote geography, sometimes it took like 2 months to get that data from field to the head office. Usually the timeline used to be 1 month, but sometimes it used to take that long. So we wanted to have a system where we can go to a real-time recording of the work that we are doing. So in that case, one of the bottleneck we used to hear a lot was about not having network in many areas where we work, especially if it is a disaster hit area or a heavy rainfall area. Network was always an issue. So with Avni, I think we were able to take this up because of the system of offline recording and syncing it later on whenever there's network. So the need was to keep the errors in check, right? So I was just thinking, there were when we type a lot of things, when it is not coded in the right way, so there can be different spelling errors. So Maharashtra, was written in 5 different ways, or longer spelling words like Vishakhapatnam or Tiruvananthapuram might have been written in 10 different ways, right? So it is important to code these things. So now the data is more kind of clean, I would say. The efforts are less. This time, this year, sorry, last year, actually, we tried coding the villages as well. So these kind of things, which was taking a lot of time, we wanted to have more and more digital systems to check the errors and keep our data clean. Then I think, yeah, most of it is largely that, because of which we wanted to have a system right in the hands of people who are doing the work in the fields, rather than, there was a lot of to and fro communications between data POCs and the field teams. So that also will get reduced.
Okay, so why Avni? So we actually have a very stringent process in Goonj as far as any tech, whenever we try to bring in any tech. And rightly so, because tech is not the main work of the NGO. Tech helps in the NGO. So we are very cognizant of that fact. So whenever we have a new platform coming in, we we float the requirements to different on different platforms, and we get proposals. We actually have a very, as you all were part of it as well. You all know, someone might know, Arjun and when you all know, we had multiple meetings with all our different people who pitch in a proposal, and we go through we have various criteria, and then we sit with the extended team and figure out as to who all the ones who meet our criteria. And there are multiple criteria. So and then we finally make a selection. So Avni had lots of pluses for us in that thing. Open source was one of the big plus. We were very happy with the fact that there's actually this open source, and the other point which I have, the platform was for NGO sector. So it benefits a pool, and that is not actually completely tight, because sometimes an open source one just takes it on their, downloads it on their system, and they can customize it. But in Avni, you all are a little bit, I think, particular, and I think they've had disagreements on that front as well, that you all will build only if you all think it is good for the community. So that also is actually very good, because whatever money you're putting into a system, it's not only you're putting it for yourself, of course you are using it, but it is helping and aiding the whole general NGO sector pool also, who's using that same platform. So which was a very interesting thing, which we really liked, and which we were happy to do as well. You all had an on-ground experience. So you all could make applications which are people who are not tech friendly and who are not savvy with the applications could use it without any issues. So you all did know how to do that. You all had translations in place and everything as part of your chain as well. It was not something which you all needed to do only for Goonj. You already had those things in place. So I think those kinds of things, because I think a lot of our things you all already had in place which we wanted. So that helps. Of course, as Anita mentioned, offline was a very big criteria for us. Lots of our villages are in rural areas where they don't have any network. So right now they are able to store their forms and the data on the thing, and they can upload they can even attach their photographs, and everything gets uploaded later whenever they have network, but at least they have done their work. So, and that gets recorded and that gets uploaded as soon as they have network. So that works very well. And yes, we had a very big need for integrating with Salesforce, because that's our whole material management platform. And so that's why we are looking for a system which was able to do that integration, which also you all did very well. So that's why we chose Avni to go with us ahead in this digitalization field. So these are some of the slides. We have some of the screenshots on how Goonj is using Avni. So we basically, this is used by our field staff. So our field staff are the people who are doing actual work on the ground. They are the one who are talking to the villagers, who are collating, ensuring the activities are done. They're speaking to the villagers and communicating with them, and then they're recording everything that is happening in the field. So that's why these dashboards help them to be able to see what exactly is going on in their area. In their in Goonj, we have something called we use a term called account, which is associated with an office of Goonj, because Goonj has various offices. So we use the term account as well for that. So account and geography are our main factors of assigning users, so they can see what is going on. So this dashboard with the numbers really helps them with that front. Then our activities, and this is some screenshots of our activities. So, which was also good that we could, because we were tying our users to the geography, they were only seeing the geography which they were a part of. So they could see that, and they could access the data based on that, and even fill up the forms based on that. And even our different types of our initiatives. Like here you can't see, but even our Plot for Work initiative has multiple activity types and subtypes. So all those things became easier for our people to fill. The photographs uploading actually also was a feature which really helps our people. Now they don't have to get their photographs uploaded on a drive and then share the links. That was a tedious process. Now this process makes it simpler as well, and the links get stored on Salesforce, so then people can even map them. So these are some of our screens. Okay, so how does Avni work for Goonj? So some of the things I've already explained, that we have accounts, and that's how our users are mapped. And based on this mapping, only they can see their. So when we say inventory, you did see in the video about the kits being distributed and things like that, which Anita also mentioned. So that is what we call inventory. That is the material which is being distributed. So then each area will have material which comes to it, which they distribute to the field, so that they can see and they can do the distribution. We have created a hierarchy of sorts for work management. So we have our field workers who are doing the actual work and filling up the forms. Then with each state, we have a data POC, which is associated. So it is a data point of contact, and they are responsible for that work which is going on over there. So if there is any issues when they check the forms and everything, they find any issues, then they reach out to their team members, and team members take actions and everything. They even, if the team members are finding issues with Avni currently, they reach out to the data POCs. And we have trained the data POCs. So we have had training. When we started training, we were training actually the data POCs and the field staff. But the data POCs have taken up the responsibility of solving the issues which the field staff face. Then we also have our Sanja team partners. So our Sanja team partners is a team in a Goonj who are looking at all the different work and implementation work and partnerships which is happening in Goonj. So they are responsible for all this magic of what is going on in Goonj. So that's why they are tightly coupled as far as monitoring is concerned with this data which is coming in from the field. So they look at it as well. So we have multiple levels of monitoring in Goonj. So they look at it as well. And they sit in Delhi. So the head office is in Delhi. So they sit in Delhi. So then if any POCs have any problem that they can now solve, they reach out to the Sanja POCs. And they have got multiple trainings. So they have trainings in managing the Avni mobile application, even the Avni web console, and all those things. They can now use it very comfortably to do their work and to monitor data and everything. So the error checks are done by our Sanja team members. And then if there are any issues, in this errors I'm referring to mostly because we have this integration with Salesforce. So that's when sometimes some issues in those happen, then we have errors and that gets catered to Sanja team members who will inform the data POCs who would take the relevant actions. And they are now, our Sanja team members, our data team members are also raising tickets with Avni. So that is also great. So any issues that they find that they cannot resolve at their end, and if there's any product related issues, then they're raising it with Avni using the fresh desk. So that way the work is also divided across. So that's how it has been working. Next steps with Avni. Okay, so we have introduced Avni to our field team members. Around 140 of them are using it in 17 states. But we still have lots of people. We work with lots of partner organizations, and they are still doing this work manually. So we want to introduce this Avni platform to them. So at least whenever possible, they can start using it as well. So then our work again gets reflected, all the reasons which Anita gave. So that applies to them as well. So that also we want to do. We want to, this is all quantitative data, but we want to start looking at a qualitative data. Right now it's coming, but it comes in by emails and everything from the field. And it's a little difficult for them to send, and then it basically goes from them to one more person, then somebody else collates their stories and tells it. So we want to be able to use Avni to capture the stories from our field staff on the ground. So then that will be like you hear it directly from them, which has probably more sentiment. So we want to be able to do that as well. Yes, I think that's it with our slides that we have about our work in the digitalization domain.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Anita and Shivangi, for sharing a very detailed presentation, explaining the whole digitization journey from various perspectives as such. So I think just in case, I mean, in the audience, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box or raise a hand and then unmute yourself and ask questions. Meanwhile, I have some follow-up questions that I'd like to ask. So one is would you like to, I mean, you shared about the journey overall. Are there any learnings that you'd like to share from this, like things that you're happy about or things you reflect and then you think you would have tweaked it or done it differently?
I think, like personally, I am really happy about the fact that it has reached to field team and they are able to do it exactly. The time has reduced a lot, and it is simple to use. For for field team, we were worried that it will be very difficult, and it has been. Like, it is not like that. There's resistance to anything which is new, but I think we in the team are very, very happy that it has reduced the time and effort of data visualization a lot. And the learning, I think over the years, there are multiple learnings that we got in this process. One of the learning was to not try and have everything in one small plate in one go, right? So everything cannot be done together. And that was a big learning. And that is why I think we have faced it. And with all different platforms that we are using or working on, we in all these platforms we're in developing phase, so we are constantly looking at the requirements and tweaking the things and adding more to it and interlinking different things together. And another big learning for me is that I am not a very tech savvy person, so I would say tech is not something that excites me a lot. And despite that thing, I'm here, we're talking about it, is something that has been very uh, quite a journey for me. But then the thing that I've learned a lot in this process is that not to look at the cost only. So earlier, when I was not involved in this process of understanding it in depth and understanding the requirements, why it is important, why it is going on different platforms and all that thing, I would be very honest about it that I used to look at the cost only, right? That this is costing too much for the organization, why we are going ahead with that. But I've been deeply involved with all tech things from the last few years, and I've realized that cost is not just what we pay in the development phase of something, right? It should always be compared with what we are actually doing, how much of time our teams are investing into doing something versus when it is converted, done on a tech platform, how much time will be saved. So that is actual cost analysis, and that was a big, big learning for me in this process. Shivangi, you want to add something to it?
Yeah, so that I think for us, like with any NGO, you start on a platform and then sometimes you think you have a very clear picture. This is exactly what you want to do. But the requirements might change on the way. Your use cases will change on the way. And that's, I think, a beauty of an NGO, because your work is constantly changing. Your work, your audience is changing. So you are just not restricted to one simple use case. You have multiple things and multiple things to consider. So I think now we are very consciously even taking those decisions and making sure that, things are configurable. Things are not so rigidly, when we're choosing a platform, that not so rigidly set that to change it, it takes us a long time. So we are very conscious of those facts as well when we are making a decision. And we're letting our partners also know, our technology partners also know that this is the requirements. But they should also not take it as if it's written in stone, because this is the requirements as of today. Tomorrow, the scenario might be a little different. So that kind of a thing, I mean, in NGO, one has to be a little more flexible in those kind of things, because even how much ever you want the clarity, it doesn't come into place until unless people start using it and people start experiencing it as well. So that also is a thing. And the journey also, when you start introducing a new application, some people take it very well and with lots of enthusiasm. Some people are worried about it. And I think that's bound to happen because they're not tech people. They're not coming from that background. This is not their main work to start using a tech platform. So, but so that's why we try to even not only phase it out in geography, but phase it out work-wise also. Like, we would start with some work first and tell them, okay, now get used to this. Once they get used to it, then we probably increase the work. So that kind of also decisions we are making as we go along the way.
Right. Yeah. I think some of the key points that I'm gathering here is, one is that you're saying that as you've gone through this journey, you've understood how to like evaluate the cost based on the benefits that it is giving you. The impact of technology in terms of all the advantages that you shared, where it is about reduction of efforts and errors and all of that. And then the iterative approach, again, not doing everything in one go, and also things change. So I mean, software provides that flexibility also. This is how I see creating or architecting a software compared to like creating a bridge that connects. So we cannot like iterate over it, but then there uh, the constraints do not change, the requirements do not change there really. And but in the software world that happens, the processes change, the expectations from humans change and all of that, and then software provides us that ability where we can iterate on it. And you also touched upon a bit upon the resistance to change. So that's what we've also seen project and project, that one of the biggest part of digital transformation is the change management, actually getting people to adopt. And in fact, Anita, you mentioned your personal journey of being skeptical about tech to be participating in this forum and sharing how technology is benefiting. How are you seeing this journey now? You want to roll it out with partners, and maybe, I mean, do you want to share some insights or how you're planning to go about on this change management part, whether it is in-house, like with your staff on the field, or whether it is with other partner NGOs, any particular tactics or strategy, or how you're planning to go about it?
So one thing is that we are very mindful to not impose things on partner organizations. This is a very diverse pool that we are dealing with. So some of the partner organizations have a lot of resources or teams with them to adapt quickly. But there are other organizations who have very less resources, small teams. There are some partners we actually till now also, we call them and tell them that this is, there's a mail that we have sent to you, and this is how you have to access that link in that mail and then revert to it. So there are different types of organizations in the pool. So we would again phase it out. We will take up the organizations whom we know that adaptability will be higher and they'll be able to take it up quickly, and then slowly we'll move forward with other partner organizations. And there are different kinds of challenges when it comes to field. Uh, with our own teams, we can have a proper system of training phase wise. We can have different kinds of trainings for people. With partner organizations, we will have to devise a system because teams change frequently. On field, the field staff uh, changes a lot. So in that case, how to keep them informed, how to keep them trained on different developments will be a kind of challenge that we need to plan how to do that. But yes, we are sure that we will be taking that ahead with our partner network.
Okay. Himesh has a question. Himesh has raised a hand. Himesh, you want to unmute yourself and
Hi.
ask?
Yeah, so I just wanted to understand from Anita how the whole disaster relief process kicks in. What is the role different organization stakeholders play, Goonj, government, the affected people, and general country in general. So can you just talk us through about that process?
Yes, so we already have a network with us. In the tech term, if I have to say that we have already onboarded a lot of partner organizations with us. So this network helps us in getting to understand the situation on ground, whether it is our own teams on ground or the partner organizations. We get the real-time updates and I would say the demands or the request during a disaster phase. And then these demands or requests are processed at the nearest office. I would say suppose something is happening in Tripura, where we do not have our own official setup. So the team in Kolkata or in Assam will take it up. They will process, and they will see that whether this organization is onboarded or not, and then we will do the onboarding process and all. This is all in the technical terms. But what happens is that when we get the request from different sources, we process and analyze. There's a disaster response team who constantly takes up the queries and then decides on certain things. And then the material is channelized in those geographies. And rest of the process is already like we are doing throughout the year. So all that process is mapped. So it becomes easier for us with the networking available, that we send all the required details to them, the formats and everything, and then they channelize the material and so. So in the disaster phase, I think in the very first phase, like I would say, if there's a flood situation and people are living in the shelters, the relief shelters and all, we immediately do not take up the ground activities of, where people participate and do cloth work activities and all. That comes in the second phase. So first phase during disasters is always to give the necessities in the shelter homes or wherever people are. And wherever possible, they take up the activities as well. Am I able to answer your question correctly?
So is there any government intervention, or do you need to coordinate something with the government?
Yes. So in many areas, there are different government entities. Like in some areas, we work with BROs. I'm just telling you where we have already worked with. We have worked with Indian Army. We have worked with different local authorities like DMs or SDMs. So we take up any approach which seems to be possible at that point of time. So, but most, the most intervention happens directly with the organizations on ground or with our team members on ground.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Any of the participants? Well then, we have already overshot by 15 minutes, but this was a very engaging and informative sharing from Anita and Shivangi. You both. It was a real pleasure to have this conversation with you and learn from your perspective. I'm sure I was actually getting some people had to drop off because they had another meeting at 4 o'clock, but they shared the feedback that they found the session incredibly useful to learn from what work Goonj is doing and how they are adopting tech and Avni. So thanks a lot for sharing. I think we can wind up the meeting unless Vinay and Parth, if there are anything else to share. Otherwise, we can close. And I probably missed during our talk, but yeah, again, congratulations to Goonj team for completing 25 years of this impactful work. And starting from a journey of one computer to where we are, and much more to come in the future.
Thank you so much, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. You too.